Good evening. Today's stream nearly didn't happen. I didn't have a great day today, but we need to do. Fuck off. We ping. We need to do some, and so some we will do. As I said to you before, there is a lot in my world going on, and I am struggling with it. And we had a longer meeting than expected today, where truths were said, and not against or bad about any of us. It was just some of the realization on the other side of the fence was beginning to hit a little home, and I don't think they thought we were being honest. I thought they thought we were exaggerating. Oh no. Anyway, let's move on. So, let's see where we're at. As you know, we are working on triangle number 8. And trying desperately not to go insane during the process. This is proving harder than I originally thought, for my marbles are somewhat shot and scattered round the beach in amongst a big pile of pebbles, and I can't find them. So right now everything is a bit of a struggle, but we will do our best to do some, if nothing else. For every bit we do today, it's a bit less to do towards the final project. As I said, this is not me at my best, and I appreciate that. I also took a great chunk out of my finger today, which I am blaming the ex-husband for. He suggested it. He bought something and went, I need you to buy this and tell me what you think of it. Okay, so I did. And it was basically a steak and kidney pudding that you do in the microwave. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of steak and kidney pudding, and the reason for not being the biggest fan of steak and kidney pudding is really quite simple. It's because I hate pastry. Well, I don't hate pastry as a concept. I hate commercialised pastry because, well, in the case of a steak and kidney pudding, even though it's called a pudding, it is a savoury dish, and it's basically got the stodgiest, nastiest pastry of all, and it's like shoe leather if it's not right, and being done in a microwave, really, pastry in a microwave is not a match made in heaven. And well, I think he misread the instructions. When I said, what, the one that says it takes 90 minutes, and he went, no, it's 2.5 minutes. And I went, well, this one says 90 minutes, 90 seconds. And he went, that could explain a lot. Okay. But I need to point out that it was not that hot. It was not that pleasant. I didn't check that they were twisted, for fuck's sake. Didn't even manage to get one move in before we change of plan, undo. I hadn't. You know, it was very mediocre, and like all commercial stuff, yes, there is pastry, yes, there is arguably content in it, but it was 3 small, tiny cubes of meat, a bit of whey, which would have been a bit dark to be calling it whey, but it was kind of watery, dark brown gravy. And not a lot of that, but more of that than at least the meat aspect of it, and a lot of this incredibly horrible pastry. And I ate that for tea, and well, it was disappointing, and so it has not cheered me up. I should have had a pizza. I should have had something with interest and nicety to it. It wasn't actually that filling either, because it was about the size half a mug. It was quite small. And really, I know that we all overeat as portions these days, and, you know, when someone says to you, like, you know, 6 Pringles is a portion, you look at them like they've grown a head, right? Because, well, frankly, they have. You know, no one in their right mind eats 6 Pringles and go, ooh, that's plenty. You know, I feel full now. You know, said no man ever. It really is that kind of problem. So, I don't know. It's just... Today has not been a good day, and it's not a bad day, it's just not a good day, but I could really use a good day. I just kind of want to go to sleep, to be honest. I want to go to sleep and wake up in a couple of weeks. Preferably 3 weeks, actually. And discover I'm on holiday, and that I can sleep as much as I need to. Do as and when I require. Because what the problem I've got is that right now I'll be tired, right? And let's say I do 2 hours of this, it'll then take me pretty much the same to upload it, because that seems to be the norm at the moment. It seems to take 2.5 minimum hours to upload my videos. And then of course it'll be, well, so that'll be midnight, but I'll be awake by then, and lie in bed staring at the ceiling, as you do. So yes, I could do with a bit of good in life. You know, the kind of good where, you know, 60 people come raiding this channel and all send a subscription. You know, that kind of good in life. I'm heralded the next saviour of the universe. No, definitely not. That's not a thing. No, I have no expectations of that. But yeah, I'm really struggling. I have very little energy. I got, as you may have gathered by now, nearly every time I have a stream, it feels like, which even though it's mostly daily, I have a new thing to talk about. Today's new thing, technically it's 2 new things, but they share a common purpose, which is to hold my embroidery hoop. Because, well, if I could use 2 hands, maybe I'll twist it a little less, and it will be a little less knotty. Plus, of course, it'll just be a bit more practical. So I got, she says, looking for them. Should be under here. There's one. That's right, I was just wondering where I put them. But of course, being black, they merge with all the other black things that most of us possess. Because everything back in the day, everything computery was kind of beige. Now everything computer is kind of black. So I bought these. Now, for the astute amongst you, there is bulldog clip one end, and for turn it up, a clamp to hold the other end. And the idea is that you can clip this on the table, and then adjust the holdery bit to hold the stand. Now, obviously, this is dependent on your table height, and a lot of tables are a bit low for that. But I've got an adjustable table. And it takes very little energy, even though it's got a big pile of crap on it, to adjust it. I haven't really attached anything. The other thing I got was a floor-standing wooden one, basically. It could be better, in that while it does take my Q-snap frame, width-wise, it does hold it, but only just, and it doesn't hold it overly securely, so if you wiggle it a bit, it tends to fall out. But obviously you don't tend to wiggle it too much, so from that point of view, it's not bad. It's a good height, but it's at maximum height with me sitting on my couch. Now my couch is quite low. If I sat on a different chair, it would be too low. It hasn't really got a lot of... It can go shorter, can't go taller, and I could have sworn it was a bit taller than that. I didn't expect it to be a lot taller, but I did expect it to be taller. But it does work really quite well. It didn't really require a lot of assembly. All I had to do was screw the legs on, sorry, the feet on, so that it didn't fall over. Everything else was kind of folded up amongst itself, and you kind of uncurl it and tighten all the bolts, and ta-da! And it is quite well made. It does tighten up well, so it's not going. The wooden parts are not going to suddenly randomly kind of go, actually no, as many things do in life. You know, a bit like this table, as you know, I'm constantly straightening it out, even though I've got it on as tight as humanly possible. And it feels like it's stretching, but it can't stretch because it's a wooden thing against a wooden thing, but somehow it is seemingly stretching because it used to have to be almost straight down, and now it's, 8 o'clock the other side. So if it went round from like 12 to 6, which is where it was originally, now it's at 8 o'clock, and you know, I almost have to keep trying to see if there's a bit more tight that can happen with it. It's not ideal. Definitely room for improvement on this design. I should go back to using the other table, really. I've got another table that is a bit more, I would say more solid, but it's got much more side-to-side movement because there is nothing really clamping it in side to side. It's got little kind of pegs you put in to stop it moving backwards and forwards, and that works really quite well. But, why can't it just work? Why can't it be easy? But never mind. I would like an easy life, that's for sure. So I'm not sure it's going to be a particularly long stream this evening, because not being able to do a huge amount of bending with my middle finger, I'm not going to flip you off, but obviously, you know, plaster on the end of middle finger here. I didn't half scrape it. So the reason I was on about the hideous steak kidney pudding was it comes in a little kind of tin. You do the ring pull off the lid, and then it says turn it upside down and put it on a microwave plate. Well, duh, right? Damn thing doesn't want to come out the tin, and the tin's got metal on it, and we all know can't put that in the microwave. So there you are trying to scrape it out the tin, and of course you've just done the ring pull, haven't you? So when you give it a scrape, that's where my finger went. So I had steak and kidney pudding and finger for tea. Actually, I think most of the skin's still attached, but it started bleeding and it was stinging like mad, so I put it under a plaster so not to get anything in it. I'm not a big fan of sticking plasters on things, but occasionally, especially for something like this, I don't really want to trigger anyone by it kind of opening up and bleeding everywhere on it, because can you imagine if blood got on this now? Can you imagine? Here I am towards the end of triangle number 8, having spent Christ knows how many hours doing it. Because, of course, as we all know, yes, you can get blood out of things, but it ain't easy, especially white. Hydrogen peroxide does pretty well, but it still leaves a bit of a stain. Because, of course, hydrogen peroxide eats proteins, and it'll go all fizzy, and it does really help. I mean, it masks most of it. Did pretty well on my geese. Anyway, well, I know what I was going to share with you guys. So, remember we did the PVA glue test? Well, I washed them today. I did do something useful. I washed them today. So, start off with the white triangle. Now, I had done this. She says check in. No. Yeah. This triangle. Now, we can all see from here, it is now fully flexible. The PVA glue seems to have washed entirely out, as I kind of suspected it would. So, for a starching material, great, but it would need to be done each wash. This Looks a little second-hand now. It didn't appreciate the wash quite as much. Even though it's still cotton, same thread, shit, bollocks. And I did exactly the same thing because I threw them both in. I washed it in a cup because I was not going to... So I put a bit of soapy water in it and mushed it around a lot and then squidged it and mushed it and squidged it and mushed it because I was, pretending to be a washing machine. Then I rinsed it. And then I rinsed it again, then I rinsed it again, gave it a bit of a squish and a wudge. Then I took it out and did a bit of the old... And then squeezed it really hard and dried it between 2 bits of kitchen paper to absorb some of the water. Even though I laid it out flat, this one did not kind of stay as flat. And in fact, you can see that this end at the top is bigger than the other end. If I fold it over and I line this side up, it is bigger one end than the other, which is not ideal. Probably works out if I blocked it, but who's going to block a net curtain? So, whereas this one seems to have done fine in the wash without any hassle. This one's turned into a shriveled up pair of pants, frankly. But what I can tell you, and you probably can't see as well on camera as I can here, is that the outside ones have come out. Let me see if I can zoom in on it. Look, where is it? So the outside threads did come out somewhat. And if I fold it just so, wondering, yes, there we go. I can make that one stand out. That one there, she says, trying to catch me camera. This one there also freed itself from its hostage, but it has held. So, and I did give it quite a good bit of violence. I gave it a... Oh, you can't see that either, can you? It's the only problem with this. Did a bit of this with it to give it a bit of roughage, so to simulate a couple of efforts, So, it does hold. The end that escapes in the middle is not hugely apparent, although it is more apparent. But it is the one, I think, that comes, she says, giving a chase. No. I think maybe that one didn't work so well, because all the others seem to have held alright. But, I mean, so the new join would be sufficient, I think. I still think a dob of super glue is the answer, though. And for all of the effort and lack of sanity that I have as a result of that, I don't believe spending that amount of time doing it and going quite so insane for each of the remaining 17... That feels like it's the wrong way up. No, it's not. 17 squares is... Well, including this one. Is... If it was for the Queen, and I was going to be heralded, Knight of the Realm or something afterwards, yeah. For my upstairs window, no. Bit of super glue, thanks very much. I have to be practical about it, and the fact that I need to make quite so many, and the fact that I will go insane if I have to do it. I mean, so, thinking of net curtain number 2, which my brain is still trying to make me do, if we're making it in one piece, there will only be one end, right? There will not, I mean, there might be ends along the way due to having to refill bobbins, but they kind of work different. They just do. So, from that point of view, you're not level, are you, cushion? From that point of view, if we do proceed with curtain number 2 and making a one-piece style curtain, I think that could be worth a more sewn in, let's call it, proper finish, because you only have to do it once, then it's all over. If I was doing it as a one piece, it also wouldn't really be in the round like this, so it would be a different way of doing it. And there are other ways of hiding some of the knots in that. So again, you could probably get away with a double super glue and just celebrate your life and move on, and it would take a lot less time and a lot less marbles would be lost. I still am somewhat overwhelmed by the amount of marbles it cost on Saturday, and the fact that I still am aware I have not regained them all. They have not all returned from their little soiree off into the universe. I mean, I'm usually a little bit nuts, but there's a little bit nuts, and then there was Saturday. Now, I have, as I explained on Sunday, I have been hysterically mad before, but I did think I was dying lying in cold dog wee, so I had a little more justification than sewing in ends of a project. This either says I am incredibly more stressed than I have given myself credit for, or that I found Saturday incredibly more stressful and stupid and everything else than I gave that credit for, or a combination of the above. But either way, the truth be known, I think frankly I was probably sectionable on Saturday, and I have realised this because having had brush-ins with the teams that make those kinds of decisions, the biggest problem I've always had previously was I was logical. Saturday I was not logical, therefore I probably met their criteria and would have been taken away gently. Yeah. So, it was not a good day, and I have not recovered, and I think, to be honest, it's going to be a while before kind of the seismometer graph of distraction settles down to flat zero again. I think small aftershocks are potentially around. The slightest thing setting me off, sort of thing. But never mind. If you haven't seen me lose my marbles on Saturday, the video's up on YouTube. Much as I was not going to upload it, because, you know, really, that was embarrassing. It's part of the journey. I've lost my marbles twice now. First time I just was really, really depressed. After all the pins fell on the floor, and I realised that the backup pins I thought I had weren't, and just for some reason it hit me a bit like a brick wall, and I was really depressed by it. And so, you know, I decided not to stream that day, and I decided to take a bit of a break the next day to, you know, recover and come back, and duly did. I probably should have done the same on Saturday, is the after Saturday, given up for the day. You know, not stream Sunday, maybe even not today after all the joys of the day, and tried tomorrow and had a good break from it. And but then it's not the lace's fault, and it's not even the triangle's fault that I lost my shit on Saturday. So from that point of view, it's blaming the wrong thing, and the wrong thing, you know, the wrong project would suffer. Now, I have done a bit more on my cross-stitch. So for those who have been following the cross-stitch journey with maybe some interest or just polite tolerance, I beg you to indulge me once again, for I'm going to hold it up this way, there we go. I have now done a bit more up this side. We are working towards this corner. It is going fairly well. Yes, it's not in its clamp right now, but that is because my sitting room's looking a little crowded, because I've got lace pillar here, I've got computer table which is a metre and a bit long to the left of it. And now I've got my floor clamp for the thing the other end. So this completely fills the 3-seater sofa. For surrounding myself with stuff. And I'm beginning to feel that this is, well, ideal for me, not exactly how one should be living. But then at the same time, I need my computer close enough to do this so that I can, because my computer's kind of down there. So I need my computer to be fairly close so that it can be attached to the camera, I can type on the keyboard, I can poke the buttons. So I have to be fairly close to that, even if it's not absolutely in front of me. But then it usually is absolutely in front of me because I use my monitor as my TV. I've got a TV over there, my monitor's kind of over there. I don't use my TV anymore. I haven't turned my TV on most of this year. And this is something that puzzles a lot of people, is that I bought a TV and I used it for about a year, and then end of last year I started using a laptop in here. Now originally my computer was the other end of the house, and I would go and sit in this god-awful chair and in the other end of the house and play games or whatever it was I was choosing to do. And that was not a bad thing. I mean, it really wasn't. It wasn't the end of the world, you know. But it was the other end of the house. And the dogs got narky because the chair does not permit dog to sit next to you. Or really on you, for that matter. Because the chair is filled by my butt. Right now I have a small brown dog. Normally I have a little black dog with me. I don't know where the black one is. Just looking to see. Don't know, it must be outside. Yes, I know I've got a little brown dog. So from that point of view, you know, I usually have a dog when I'm here, and they like to touch me, or actually more accurately, they seem to like bumping me. Dogs don't ever just come and sit next to you. No, they come and... You do not need to do the circle thing on the couch. Especially little brown one who does the circle thing. Black dog doesn't really bother with that, he's too lazy. But she does the circle thing. She's going to do it again now, isn't she? Circling will not change the shape of my couch, darling. Little one. Especially as it seems to be me that you're headbutting that's in the way. I am not moving. I'm sitting here. You have to adjust around. Ow! But every time she circles, she kind of like headbutts me and butt-butts me. And then kind of wonders why I'm looking a little bit offended as, you know, as you're sitting there with your drink and it's kind of like, then you're like, can you not? And they look at you with, what? I was just going to come on. Yeah, I know, but it's my couch. You get to share my couch. You do not own the couch. Dogs. So yes, it's been a long day. adds a red start. That's going to be awkward. Just realised that skinned finger is the finger I usually stick in my lip seal. I don't really want to stick it in my lip seal. Just not in the mood for this knot today. Have a normal knot then. Just deal with it. Can't be bothered to fight the knot. I haven't got the soul to do it. I feel like I've climbed a mountain. Yes, I'm kind of pleased with my cross stitch thing. It's alright. It's growing. Rory. You know I can hear you, right? Little man. Instantly strolls in. Yes, you. I can hear you. It's only Monday today, isn't it? That's a bit alarming. Shocker, I bent a pin. One of these flimsy pins has just bent. Wow, couldn't have seen that coming. How bent is it? Let's replace it before it drives me nuts. So that's the one that she picks up isn't necessarily a lot straighter, but it's currently not bent as badly as the last one. How have I got 3 left? Ah, that's fine. Phew. Time to do some pokey pins, I think. Oh no! Bollocks. At least that wasn't the pin pot, is all I can say to that. That was the tool pot, which is... Hello, Silver of Dragon. Thank you for raiding. Welcome to the people who came with you. You arrived... Yeah, I have just thrown my pot of tools on the floor, so if you bear with me one moment, I shall rescue them. Where's the other one? Seem to be missing a pin. And when you have dogs, that is not a statement that sits well. Seriously, get out of it! Dogs cannot assist me in finding things other than your stand on it. Don't be so stupid, dog. Where did the other pin go? There it is. It's important to find the pin before it ends up in the dogs. Even though you're determined that it should be in you first, aren't you? Yes. Oh. Come on to me. Everything's taking a leap. Have you ever had one of those days where every flat surface just seems to repel every object that you've got? You put it down and it kind of goes whee! Into space, and you're like, how? You're a flat object on a flat object, you're not shiny, it's not at an angle, and yet suddenly, now you've catapulted yourself into oblivion. This seems to be my day. Right, let me tidy up where I'm at. And put a few things in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We like to put things in sticks in case of dog attacks, where the dog knocks the table and sends things to the floor, because, well, we had previous for doing that. And this is where the pot of tools comes in. Because, she says now, needing the 2 pins that she rescued and only seeing one of them again, even though I know there is 2 of them in here, because, well, there's the other one. Actually, I don't want the little ones, do I? I want the big ones. Just because they've got a bit more grunt to them. And one of those. And what we do is we place the little sausage on the thing and put a big stick in it. Big pin. And then we can keep it out of the way, but held down so that it doesn't try and escape. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Stick. Put a stick on these. And we slide these under here. Because then we can chuck them a bit and they won't matter because they'll stay all tidy. So. Pokey pin. And then we check we poked all the pins down back there. Looks like we might have missed one, but I just squish it down with my finger a bit. And then get the pot pins and we get you out the way because you're just in the way. Come on, get out the way. You're not party to this. And then we pull out these pins. Because we like pulling out pens. It's one of my favourite bits to do. Because it's now you discover how much you've how many mistakes you've made, and how much you hate yourself because you're not going back that far. Because you only ever pull the pins out once there's no way you're going back that far. And then you look and see all the mistakes and kind of sigh. The last triangle was not error-free, but it was pretty damn close. So we have succeeded on occasion to be pretty good. Move my microphone a little bit so I can move me a little bit. There we go. I am queen of bending these pins. These pins are 0.4 millimeters wide on the shaft. Now, for a pin, you probably never really paid a lot of attention to pin shafts before. As long as they poked in and poked out and held stuff, you probably never really cared how fat your pins were. Now, I have a number of pins, not too surprisingly, because, well, I get through quite a few of them, especially when I keep bending them. I've had to order more especially bendy pins. These seem to be made of tin foil, frankly. They're not. They're supposed to be brass-covered, bend-resistant, they claim. Don't know what they're comparing resistant to what, but not compared to any other pins. So, these are 0.4 millimeter pins, and if I pick one up, she says trying desperately hard, and put it down here, you can see that, well, it's a pin. If I bring over this pot of pins, this one's slightly longer, but we'll ignore the fact that it might be slightly longer. But this pin is 0.5 millimeters, and, well, it's a little more visible. And I have over here my other pins, and this pin is a butch pin. This pin is 0.65 millimeters. It's also a little bit shorter. Now, if I zoom in on the pins, actually, let's do it this way: zoom, and then try and guide them to the middle. You can, if you pay attention, see that the top one is distinctly thinner than the bottom one, and that the middle one is arguably potentially somewhere in the middle. I mean, we're talking fractions of a millimetre, so if you can't see it, I'm not actually surprised, but even on my 2-inch window that I've got on my computer, I can see that the top one is distinctly thinner than the bottom one, because the top two have kind of like anti-aliasy kind of line stuff going on, and the bottom one does not, because it's fat enough. Now, the difference is if I take the bottom pin and hold it at one end and do this, literally all that happens is it digs in my finger. Put that back in the pot. If I take the middle pin and I hold it like this at the end and I do that, it does bend, but and I can bend it, don't get me wrong, I can kind of bend it by putting it between my fingers and bending it, of course I can, but generally if you do a bit of this, again, it tends to hold its shape. It does bend slightly, but not a lot. I'm going to sacrifice this pin because, well, I get through enough of them anyway. If I hold this pin at one end and I do this, it bends in half and stays that way because it's shit. And I hate them because they do exactly that. You go to put them in the thing and there is very little resistance putting them in the thing and it bends. You pick them out, they bend. They bend because you said the word pin, frankly. So as a result of bending, because you went, hey look, there's a pin, oh, it just bent in half. Urigella is not needed to bend these pins. If you thought the word pin at any point in this conversation, 3 of them in the tin probably just bent. So it is a big struggle because it feels almost like one-use pins. Because by the time you've used them, they're not fit for using again. And this is somewhat not ideal, because they're friggin' expensive. Now, allegedly, you get 400 of them in a pot, she says, picking up the other ones. Does it suggest how many of the other ones you get? So the middle ones, which would be marginally more preferable, don't say how many you get on them, but... Well, while there are a few hidden underneath the cloths, that's more than a pot of pins that you get, right? This is the pot of pins of the middle one. This pot is full. If I empty this into one of these tins, it's full. What does that tell you, right? Because it's not by weight. Well, it is by weight, but they reckon there's 400 pins. I don't. Personally, it just doesn't feel like there's that many pins. And what on earth is that in there? They just don't last. They're terrible. So I've ordered 4 more pots of these pins, because, well, maybe that'll actually be a pot full, but I'll probably have to order more before the end of the project. I do really, really, really want to transfer to using the slightly less, well, the considerably less bendy ones. Don't get me wrong, I've bent a couple of those in my time. That took a bit more effort. It was not... Oh, look, I breathed. Bent pin. These are not the best examples. So, this white square was an early square made when I used bobbins with spangles, and then realised from how much I hated spangles. And so... dog's woken up. Decided that we would not be finishing with those, and I was not planning on rewinding all the bobbins one by one while still attached to the work, so we declared test triangle. So technically this isn't triangle number 8, it's technically triangle number 9, because here is triangle number 1. But due to some experiments, it got a wash today, and I pretended to be a washing machine, which is why some of like this end is looking slightly scrunched up, because of course I didn't block it. But I'm not going to block the real thing, so needed reality check on it. So I washed this, and this is the post-washing square, triangle. If I move this and open plastic box of keepness, this is square number 1. Square number 1 has not been washed. And comparing square number 1 to triangle number 1, you can see a difference. It already looks like it closes up quite a bit on being washed, but it doesn't actually lose any length or anything. It just probably needed blocking, but like, as I say, it's not going to be blocked when it comes to reality. This little square, while on pus green thread, is exactly the same thread as the triangle and the square. It's just pus green because I didn't want to waste good thread, right? Or a thread that I would use for better manners. So pus green it is. I lost my sanity making this square. It represents what... The fact that it looks a bit tattered and haggard really is appropriate, because so is my sanity. But I used different pins for this. And post-washing, other than that this one's a bit more crumpled, because clearly I didn't lay it overly flat when I dried it, because I'm an idiot. I did try, I kind of thought I'd pressed it flat and stuff, but apparently I got a crease in it, so it's dried with a crease in it, and I can't be bothered to iron it because it's only a test square. The truth of it is that they don't look that dissimilar after a bit of a wash. Although that one really looks haggard, so it doesn't really look like anything after the wash. So I could get away with swapping the pins, because the pinholes have definitely disappeared on both of them, roughly to the same extent. Whereas here, I can still see where the pinholes were, because of course this has come off and has been cheated gently and kept folded nicely out of the way, where no harm may come to it, because, well, for it is the one, it is the original, it is the only so far. Soon it's going to have a friend, hopefully by the end of the week. But, you know, we can all see that square was considerably smaller than triangle, but it constituted some of everything. For an experiment, it served its purpose. The purpose was success, other than losing my sanity. That was not the purpose of the square, to lose my sanity, but it was to practice a new style of join. I historically am not good with knots, or rather knots are not good with me. They don't tend to do their thing when it comes to me. And as a result of not doing their thing, I don't trust them, because, well, they don't do their thing. And hello, dog. Oh, thank you for that. It's right, I'm being stood on by a dog, and if you see dog nose, don't be too surprised, because she does stick her head towards the pillow a lot. That's why she's headbutting the light at the moment, which is attached to the camera. I do find myself pained, because the new join does look better, but I could not do a square. It took me 4.5 hours to do half of the join on that square. And if the square is, calculation in progress, 1/16 of the bigger square, which it is, hence the calculation was in progress, clearly I have a lot more square to complete. I worked out it's probably 18-19 hours of one join, which will mean, obviously, with 17 squares to join, because while this is square number 17, I haven't joined it yet, so I have 17 squares to complete. Well, 17 times, let's call it 20 for slightly easier maths, is a lot, and I don't want to spend that many hours joining a square. Now, it takes long enough to do it the way I did the first one. Would it look better? Yes, it would. If it took 2 hours longer, yeah, okay. Maybe 3 even, yeah, okay. When it seems to take 2 hours or so to do not a lot, no. We have to be practical. It's a bit like a business decision. It is not particularly viable to spend that amount of time achieving not a lot when an alternative method, which is second rate but not vastly bad behind it, takes less than a quarter of the time. And a long time ago, I interviewed for a job that I refused, which was to be a salesman for Kirby vacuum cleaners. And for those who are old enough, Kirby vacuum cleaners were not really actually vacuum cleaners. They were a motor that had a vacuum attachment and many other attachments, so it could actually be a water pump and a whole pile of other things. Now, they weren't bad. They really weren't. But at the time, the average Hoover, Dyson wasn't really around then, so the average Huger, Electrolux, whatever variety you had, was around £100. And it did an okay job. Yes, the Kirby picked up more dirt. But it was £1,000. It was not 10 times better. You could buy more attachments, so making it more than £1,000, to use it for other things. So at least it had a bit more purpose, perhaps, than your standard Hoover would have done. But you could buy 10 Hoovers for the price of one Kirby, which would probably see you throughout your entire lifetime. Now, the Kirby would also see you throughout your entire lifetime, but you have to have the grand to spend on it in the first place. Whereas buying, a Hoover every 3 or 4 years, maybe even 5 or 6, depending on how kind you are to them, well, it's probably easier because A, they're still £100 kind of thing, but B, you only need to find £100 at the time. And then you've got 5 or 6 years to save up the £100 for the next one. And so the reason I declined the job was I was due to go and see boyfriend of the moment who lived in Birmingham and I was in London, and they expected me to practice on 10 to 20 different people that weekend, even though I was going away and I'd already said I was leaving and I was not really likely to be meeting people at all because, well, boyfriend, kind of had other thoughts. But on top of that, they expected that of all the people, even though they have no idea who your friends and family who are, that at least half of them would buy a Kirby out of it. Well, my friends were students. They had £1,000 to survive the year, not on a Gover. And they were like, oh, well, they'll find the money. From where? They're in debt already, love. They're not gonna double their debt down for the year to buy a Hoover. So I declined and, gracefully said, great Hoover, because he is a great Hoover, but I decline your job and I shall leave. Thank you very much. And they were kind of put out because, it's just because your product's better doesn't make it the right product. Because if you can't afford it, you can't afford it. Hands up who would love to be driving around in a Lamborghini, because they look really cool. And if you haven't got children and need to go on holiday, a Lamborghini would look great. Not exactly ideal to go down the food mall for your weekly shop, but to go to work and trot around the country and go down the pub, for a Sunday lunch or something. Great, we'd all love a Lambo. First of all, can't afford a Lambo. Second, can't afford the insurance on the Lambo. Thirdly, can't afford the upkeep of the cost of maintaining stupid Lambo. So I don't have a Lambo. But I've got a kind of Mini that I'm not even sure I'm going to keep going this year. Because I don't really need it. I've done 50 miles on it this year. So you sit there going, it's not that it's not a good product. But for me, it is not the product of choice. And we all make those kinds of decisions on a daily basis. We all need something to cook food in, but we don't all run out and buy Hexclad. We make do with the, £10 frying pan from Tesco. That stack of cheap saucepans for 40 quid off Amazon. Because you haven't got £200-300 per pan to buy Hexclad. Are they better? Yes. Do you want? Wouldn't mind. But I can't afford one. Haven't got the money. If Elon Musk was to come in and drop, 50 billion bits on me, great. Maybe I would go and buy some Hexclad. But no, it's not happening, right? I'm not doing this for the money, don't get me wrong. I keep pointing that out because one of the reasons I don't ask you guys to subscribe or pay bits is because I don't expect you to. To be honest, this is not overly a spectator sport, and I know I'm sitting here drinking my drink at you, but... and annoying the dog, apparently. Rude to you too, darling. So yes, it is kind of... I don't expect to make any money from this whatsoever. The ad revenue from this is next to nothing. Most times I do not even get a cent per stream for ad revenue. And you know what? Doesn't really matter. I'm quite cool with that. As I say, I'm not in it for the money. I mean, would part of me like to be able to give up my day job and do some form of crafting videos on... set up a TV schedule of, Monday morning we shall do weaving and on Tuesday we will do knitting and, part of me says yes, I'd love to. Because I could pick a schedule, have a bit of variety, do a few things, share a few things, and, if I had, kind of like the Asmongold level of streamers, no, I never expect that, but you know what I mean. If I had enough streamers... people watching to make that a reality, maybe I would, but I also don't expect to. I never expect to. Even if I do this for another 10 years, I never expect to make money out of this. I've already spent, to get going on this, I've spent £300-400 because I needed a table for my cushion. I needed a camera that didn't suck, and I got through a couple of different cameras because, oh, your GoPro, which I already owned, 4K GoPro. Yeah, when you use it a webcam, 720. My digital camera that I actually owned, again, does 4K pictures. Oh, but not as a webcam. And the best lens I have for it technically has a fault, and I watched a video on how to fix it. It's like, I'll just break that, I'm not touching that. So I had to make do with a different lens. It really wasn't that great. Again, it was 720, and it was hard for you guys to see what was going on. So I got a webcam, and it was quite cheap, but I got a webcam. Said it was 1080. It didn't look it. It was terrible. Had to get this one. Now this one I do like. We'll have to say I do like this one. This one is actually capable of 4K, even though I'm not streaming in 4K. But the 1080 it does do is sharp and crisp. The 1080 on the other one was not. I had to buy a mic. I've got a stream deck so I can press buttons and move things around and, you know, change pictures and you know, so for example, I can move it to this, talking of me, and go back, and I've done all that. So I've done quite a few things to make this hopefully reasonable for you to watch, but also because I want to document what I'm doing, and I want to be able to watch it back without cringing too much, although my own voice is hideous and I don't need to do that. Maybe I should I would listen to it on mute, frankly. I advise that, really I do. So, I don't know, I'm doing this because I want to. I'm not doing this because I think I'm going to give up my day job and make a crap load of money, because, well, I know I'm not. I don't think any of the people on Twitch stream and make enough to kind of give up their day job, unlike a lot of the gamers. There seem to be quite a lot of people in the gaming kind of genre that make enough that is their day job. I do have a game stream in a couple of weeks that I will be streaming, but I will make sure that is clear in the title, because, well, it's not my usual genre. But I expect to make no money from any of this, and I'm cool with that, really am, because I'm documenting this for me, not for you. You just incidentally get to watch me lose my marbles along the way, which is also fine, because losing my marbles I certainly am. So for those who are watching and who are new, you are always welcome to come see me. I do try and stream every day. It does get a little monotonous because, well, as you may notice from the top right hand corner, I am on triangle number 8. Well, technically as we know it's triangle number 9, but triangle number 8 of my net curtain. Well, they're all the same. So from that point of view, kind of, it's not really going to change throughout the project. It is mainly because it can't change, because then it will look different, because one of the key things, like a lot of crafting, is consistency. That is far more important than actually how you do something. You can do it totally wrong. As long as you like how it's wrong and it's what you want, it's good. So whether you're doing right or wrong is completely irrelevant, as long as you do them all the same, or you do, so for example, I could do this different and this different, or even each of these 3 different, but I'd have to do them the same on all of them and keep them the right way up, otherwise it looks crappy when you finish. And that is the key to most of this, is not necessarily what you've done, but the reliability of doing it the same each and every time. Now, obviously, there are some mistakes along the way, and most of the squares will technically be unique, but we are aiming. We're not aiming to make mistakes, we are aiming to try and be right every time. So occasionally we go back and fix things. In fact, we fixed quite a few things along the way. But sometimes we don't notice till later, and then we're a little bit disappointed and sad, because sometimes you're sitting there going, how did I not see that? How was that not apparent that hadn't happened? Because the usual thing that happens... Hang on. The usual thing that hasn't happened is twisting them before you start the stitch. There's only 2 moves in lace making. Cross, left over right. Twist, right over left. That's it. Those are the only 2 things you need to know. It's just a case of when, where and how. And sometimes there's 2 twists here, sometimes there's 1 twist there, sometimes it's a cross, twist, cross, sometimes it's a twist and cross, sometimes it's cross and twist, but realistically, well, it's going to be one or the other, right? And just check what my coworker sent me. Yep. What? I've got to have a glasses off to read this. What? Can I have that in English? I don't even know what that means. Yeah, there are words. So yes, consistency is the most important factor. options you don't get on the UI of some of these things. Goodness sake. This is the biggest problem with all of these things, is these threads love to mate with pins. Even though I'm trapping them down and keeping them safe and all the rest of it, they still love to mate and tangle and stick on everything. Sometimes you start worrying because they don't. Dude, shut up. It's one thing I hate about my phone case. It's got this little flap to get to the silence button, and it's an evil flap to undo. Just need to make sure. Yep, these are the ones in question. thing in my ear that says ads coming in 3 minutes. Made me jump. What are you doing? You're all being annoying today. Aren't you, dogs? Yes. Miss. What? Can you not stand on my boobs, please? That's right, you headbutt the camera, that works really well, yes. Now don't lick my nose, I think you just puke, can you not? Hmm? Yes. Yes, darling. Go on, up here. You had a hug. You did have a hug. You literally just had one. You did. You did just have a hug. Did you drink your water too fast? Is that what you did? You sniff the microphone, that'll help. No! Don't puke on it! That was close. She did successfully puke on the edge of my pillow. There, thank you. Thank you for that. She's obviously got a bit of wind behind. Are you alright? Alright. Got any more wind to bring up? Hmm? Puke on that pillow again though and I'll tell you in kebabs. Seriously, really? Of all the things that you could pick on. By the way, thanks for licking my cloth. My cloth is wet. Yeah, you know, don't you? I have a cloth that I have around for general stuff. It is sanitary, barely. But it's now wet with dog slob. Not sanitary. Unfortunately, it was only really water, but so not the point. Dogs. Especially little brown ones. You're annoying. You truly, truly are utterly annoying. You know that, right? Well, I know it's been a bit of a shorter shorter stream today, but to keep my sanity, I feel like a earlier night would be beneficial. So I am going to call it a day, and we shall return in the morrow. I shall take a photo, because we always take a photo. That is how it works around here. Take a photo. Like that. Check that the photo doesn't look too bad. Well, that looks pretty reasonable. So, thank you for coming. Do appreciate that some of you might be in ads right now, but let me see if I can find someone to pass you to. You don't want to go there. Let me fire up this here. Because I don't get to hear it when I do it here. So if we raid will go to... Yeah. I shall see you tomorrow.